Hi, I'm Simon Lovegrove and I help leadership teams all over the world to be the best that they can be. This is the second in a series of videos looking at the areas to address in order to affect the performance and effectiveness of your leadership team. The first one looked at addressing trust issues and building a habit of successful communication. In this one we're going to look at aligning and setting a clear vision. And the reason this is important is that the basic function of leadership is to set the direction. And as a leadership team, if you're not doing that, and if you're not aligned in it, then you're not doing that basic function of the leadership team and the rest in relationship to the business. The flip side, of course, is that once it happens, is that the benefits are that the rest of the organization will start to make decisions in the light of a similar understanding of the context and a similar understanding of the strategic direction, and they will naturally make decisions and establish priorities that support those things. When we do this with leadership teams, we address it through a 5-stage process in which we look at what is the strategic context. Second, we look at how did we get to where we are, and we make sense of that. Third, we actually have the conversation about where you want to be at a future point. And that future point can be different for different organizations because they've all got different horizons depending on their markets. Once all of those are in place, you can talk about how to get there, and then finally map that out over time into a roadmap so that you can establish work packages and programs that will take you from today to where you want to be. For each of those, it's important to align as a leadership team. And the point about that is not so much that everybody agrees and has absolutely the same view, but that you have enough of a consistent understanding of each other's perspectives so that you understand the totality of the whole view. One of the tests that you can do to see if people really understand each other is to talk to two different members of the leadership team and ask them, what is our greatest threat right now, and what is our greatest opportunity? 8 times out of 10, you will get different answers to those questions. And that illustrates the need for the communication to take place between different members of the management team so that they understand each other. And what we're coming at, the point about having this conversation is to understand in rich description and rich detail the rocks and hard places that are driving the business to change. The second stage is to make sense of how you got to where you are today. And this doesn't need to be a long conversation, but it's important in that it makes sense of the past. And as with any change, there is an implicit criticism of what went before. And that's unfortunate because most of what went before was done for the right reasons given the context in which they were operating at the time. And it's important to make sense of that, not only for the people who were part of that, but also for new people coming in so that they understand the journey that the organization has been through and can make sense of it. Once you've got those two in place, you can then have the conversation about what is the vision. And by that I mean what you want to be able to say is true about the organization in terms of what it's producing, what its results are, what its place in the market is, what difference it's making, what people are saying about it, and who the heroes are and the standards that it represents. So this is not motherhood and apple pie. This is hard fact, sensory-based look, see and hear data. All of which is important in order to establish a clear understanding, a visceral understanding of what that future point is going to look like. Once you have that, you're then in a position where you can talk about what's important in terms of the strategy and how you're going to get there. And that may be done at 2 different levels. You may need to have a high-level conversation which addresses the issue of establish this position in the market and then we can achieve these results, or metaphorically cross this chasm, or cross this bridge, or build this fort. At a lower level of detail, you'll be able to then to say what are the critical focus areas, the priority areas that you need to be thinking about as a business in order to achieve that vision. And those will be a small number, and I say small because this is part of setting the direction. It's important that everybody in the business can understand those areas. One of the critical mistakes that a leadership team makes is to have, more priorities than they can possibly remember. And if they can't remember them, how do they expect the organization? So a small number of clear priorities, clear areas to address that are the focus areas for organizing their work to go towards that vision. Once you've got all of those in place, you can then map that out over time into a roadmap which allows work packages and work programs to be established so that the business of achieving those deliverables can start and can be managed. Now, if you want one takeaway from this, in fact, I'm going to give you two takeaways. Get two members of the management team and ask the same question: what's our greatest threat and what's our greatest opportunity? And see if you get the same answers. Similarly, ask them, what would you like to be able to say is true about the business in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever is an appropriate horizon for you. And again, see if you get the same sort of responses. That will allow you to test the extent of the alignment between members of the management team, members of the leadership team, as to the strategic context and the vision. My guess is, and my bet is, that you will get different answers, and that will be an indicator that you really need to have the conversation to bring those perspectives together, and at least to the point where they understand each other, even if they don't agree. All right, that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.